2 weeks ago, I launched my first book, From Chubby Kid to Longevity Hero. And I'm so grateful and I thank everybody for the support. I sold quite a few copies already. I think it must be about 40, 41, which I wasn't expecting. However, the book is about my life. When I was 13 years old, when I was hurt by a girl, when she directly said in my face, "Where do you think I'm gonna go with you? Look at you, fat." To give you the short version. And that jumpstarted an entire career for me. And then from that moment on, until now, how I got involved in functional nutrition, functional medicine, anti-aging, biohacking, and so on. So everything is in the book. I dedicated an entire section for skin rejuvenation without Botox or fillers. I'm talking about real skin rejuvenation. And there's a lot of raw materials the body needs for collagen synthesis to occur. And also to stay away from sugar, because sugar glycates and it breaks down collagen. Anyways, just to give you a little bit. And then I want to also announce that my second book is coming out soon. I've been working on it for quite some time, and the second book is going to be intense. It's called America's Food Pandemic, The Hidden Crisis. And I think it's perfect timing to launch this book because, since we have Robert Kennedy in our government now and exposing, all the food chemicals and the dyes and just all the environmental factors that play a role, I felt good about it to finally speak up because I don't even know where to start. If you would know what I know, what we have, the toxins, the chemicals, the microplastic, the heavy metals, and everything that's in our food supply, you wouldn't even eat anything no more. The more you know about nutrition, the less food you can find in the grocery stores. Now, this book is not to scare you, but to make the right choices, especially for your kids. Because 75% of Americans have at least one chronic disease. Now, we have the sickest children in America. And we have we have 6 out of 10 have one chronic disease, and then we have 4 out of 10 multiple chronic diseases. That is unheard of, and it's getting worse year after year, even though we spend more money on healthcare. So the system is broken and it's not working. And so we have to start asking questions and look at the stuff we eat, right, Stoney? Yeah. So we have to look at the stuff we eat in our environmental, environment. I mean, in a regular household, there's about 10,000 chemicals we get exposed to every single day. And I'm sure you heard about this before, the rain barrel effect. There's the barrel, and when it rains, it keeps filling up. And as it fills up, eventually it's going to hit the top, right? And when it gets close to the top, that's when we get diseases, such as cancer, heart disease, or something less severe, high blood pressure, high homocysteine levels, skin issues, gut issues, mental issues, and the list goes on and on. And then you go to the doctor, and instead of looking at your toxic load, they just give you a drug that adds to the toxic load to cover the symptom. So it's this vicious cycle we can't get out. And it's time to speak up. And it's time to expose the corporations, that make that food, the chemicals, the poison that's in our food, the heavy metals that's in our food, the microplastic. I mean, that could be a book on its own. I think if we don't get the microplastic under control in the next 20, 30 years, this is going to end up badly. So many women in the United States can't even get pregnant anymore because they're packed with heavy metals and microplastic. Every baby that's born today in the United States has at least 200 chemicals already in the body before it even starts living life. Now, and every individual that will do like a chemical test or heavy metal test, I've done about 40 in the last couple of years with some of my patients, and I've never ever seen anybody in a good range. Everybody, and I mean everybody, is highly toxic in aluminum, including myself. I got my test back last week, and I consider myself pretty healthy. So how is that possible? Well, we can openly talk about geoengineering now. The conspiracy name used to be chemtrails. Now that Kennedy actually officially acknowledged it and talked about it, and then Florida DeSantis banned geoengineering. They don't want to have the plane going crisscross, like covering the sun and dumping all the aluminum and all the heavy metals on us. Because it gets in our soil, it gets in our plants, the animals that eat the plants, and we eat the animals and the plants, and end up in our body. And aluminum is highly toxic, especially for the brain. I mean, I can go on and on and on, but I think you get the point. So in my new book, America's Food Pandemic, it's very detailed and it goes very deep of everything that's wrong with our food supply. And then of course, I'll also offer the solution, what you can do about it, to fix it. Because there has to be a happy ending, right? And that book is really, for anybody, especially when you have children, so that you know how to read the label, so you know what to look out for and what to never ever touch when it comes to nutrition. And also then, on how to detox, how to lower the toxic load, the rain barrel, empty it out, at least halfway, because that's when all the diseases start accumulating. And if you empty it out or lower it, a lot of the health conditions just vanish. And again, I'm gonna keep you guys posted. I would say in another 5-6 weeks, it's probably live on Amazon. And that book, please tell everybody, that book is a must for you and your family if you care about your health. Because if you don't do anything about it, again, this is my personal opinion, I think the next 30 years, this is gonna look really bad. All right, Sony? Tell him. All right, guys, again, thank you for the support, and I keep you posted.